trucks are out of the truck. We've got all that out, all the controls. I took everything apart, put it in bags, screwed, labeled, and it's all sitting up on a shelf. So with that being done, I was able to go ahead and get the wheel wells cut out of the firewall. So that's done. I'm gonna need to do some more cutting. This is all the way down. You can't see it, but the hard mounted surface where the top of the spring sits is sitting on the lower control arm on both sides. The middle part of our subframe right here, the whatever you call that, it's 3.5 inches off the ground. I can't go any lower here, so not too bad. I've got to get drop spindles still. Those spindles that I got won't work. Those are for a C30. So I can get upper control arms. It's going to change this pinion angle where they're not diving in so much. They're a couple $100, so that's something I'm probably going to do. I emailed them last night to see if I could get the lowered spindles and the control arms at a better price. So that's that. Fender walls are cut. Fender wells on the firewall are cut. I'm gonna need to take some more out because it's pretty close right now. By pretty close, I'm talking like a 1/2 inch. So that's gonna have to be done. Everything went real smooth. I did have to get rid of the e-brake cable that comes down, the hood latch cable. I'm gonna have to relocate as well. The e-brake I'm not so concerned with. I have an automatic transmission, so I'm pretty safe about that, and we don't have any safety inspections for anything on this year, so there's nothing that would fail it. So I'm gotta take a little bit more out of the wheel wells, and I can call that cut, and then I'll have to make the tubs for it, which isn't a big deal, but I'll turn it into one. So that's just how I roll. So you probably can't see the white paint pin on this upper control arm over here. It is, I'm gonna say 1/8 inch away from the steering shaft. So I'm gonna have to get some Schedule 80 pipe, notch it in there, cut it in, burn it in, clean it up to where this has a dip in it. This all has to be reinforced anyhow, because that's where the top of the bag plate, no, excuse me, that's gotta be reinforced anyhow. So that's not such a big deal. So that's gotta be done, that's gotta be done. The fender well tubs need to be cut out. But that's a good start. It's still pretty early in the morning. It's like 10:40. So that didn't take too long. All the heat and air controls are out. That's done, that's buttoned up, nothing caught on fire, which I didn't anticipate anyway. But I'm gonna stand back, we'll look at this for just a second. It's pretty stinking low. So not too shabby. Of course, the wheels, I mean, that's going to be a pretty common deal when you lower it because it has nowhere to go, so it takes the pivot of it in. But quite literally, the 3.5 inches I was talking about is right here. We just have 3.5 inches, about a hand height this way. So we're getting there. I'll catch up with you guys here in just a second. I thought it's going to be important for me to share this with you guys before I get too far along. So, and I'm going to try to be as steady as I possibly can with this. So I've got everything marked out. We'll walk through that, and then I'm going to walk through all the bolts that need to come out. So this is going to be the long bed to cut down, long bed cut down into a short bed. So whenever we do this, one thing you've got to remember, your horizontal lines can match up. They need to match up. In essence, what I'm talking about is this right here. Okay, it's the same as this line right here, where our arrows are. Our vertical lines need to be 14 inches apart on the front. Or yeah, on the front, right up behind the cab. So we're cutting 14 out here, and we're cutting 6 out in the rear, okay? It can be in a lightning shape as long as you have your distance between here and there. You see I got the arrows, so I remember which side to cut it on. And I've measured everything a few times, so I tried to put my same side of the tape, so it's easy for me to remember in arrows. And I've come through here at the tape measure, it's exactly 14 inches from there to there. From here to here. Same thing on the bottom, there to there, okay? this line, what we're doing is we're gonna cut this out in a jog. I'm gonna go ahead and keep the stake pocket in there, but I am going to fill it in. I don't want them there. So in essence, we're getting rid of that 14-inch piece, okay? Then we'll shave, when we shave the stake pockets, we'll shave the gas tank hole. Okay, the rear, we're just taking 6 inches out, okay? I didn't put my arrows on this side, but it's 6 inches in between here and here, okay? So I need to put arrows so I remember. So that's all coming out. Now, let's talk about a few things. On the inside of this bed, I have a lip. Some of them do, some of them don't. On this one, I do. In this corner, there's a seam that's not seam sealed. That's not welded. I'm gonna have to cut this out, and I believe that's the only one. So whenever I take this truck side off, I'm gonna cut this out first to see where this lands me, okay? Because if I can get this off and there's a 1-inch piece over here, then I need to come right here over an inch and put it there, because I want this, I still want this to be in the bed, okay? I don't want to have to try to make that seam. All right, so it's gonna be the same on both sides. Both sides are marked out. And I've got arrows on this side, so you'll see what I'm talking about. This 6-inch piece is coming out. And this is mirrored from the other side, okay? So that 14-inch piece is coming out. Gas tank hole, gonna get welded up. Reason we're getting welded up, I don't know if you can see it, there's a fuel cell right there, and it's going in here. So I'm gonna do my best to get rid of this dent. We're gonna get the fender wells off, okay? Once we take the side fenders off, I'll have access to the inside of that hole, all right? So let's talk about taking this apart, because this is gonna be the easiest way to do it, is to take this bed apart. So this is one side. The front tailgate is one side. This is one side. The bottom is one piece. That wheel well is one piece. And the passenger side wheel well is one piece. So all of these bolts are out here. And I've got the interior that's right up in here. There's some bolts right up in here that is bolting, excuse me, that is bolting this to this, okay? Got those out. One thing you got to remember when doing this, there's 2 bolts down in this pocket here. You've got to get those out, and there's always going to be 2 spot welds on your back corner. So remember, 2 bolts, 2 spot welds. 2 spot welds, and the 2 bolts, they're out. Well, you can't, regardless of that one, there's some bolts down in there. So this side right here is ready to come off. Now, I've never done this. I need to take the fender straps, those little stiffening rods, I need to get those off. But everything is taken apart other than the seam sealer. Well, I say that. I need to go under there and check, but this is going to be coming apart here shortly. But I thought before I get too far and have this thing tore apart, this is what we're doing. We're taking 14 and 6, just like on the boxed frame, 14 and 6. So I thought that's important to know. And I'll keep you guys filled in as I'm taking this apart. And next thing you know, we're going to have it on some sawhorses. So let's start there. Yeah, I'm just sitting here admiring this. Oh, yeah, back to what we were doing. So, this is something I've never done before. And I'm going to point out a couple of things that would have really made this easy. So, the previous little segment, I showed you where they had the 2 welds right here on the back corners, right? You know, you got your tailgate right here, down at the bottom. See where that hinge is? Behind that, there's 2 more welds. And I found out after everything is unbolted, and I'm trying to hold up the weight with one, it turned into a ratchet strap and jack fiesta. At one point, I thought I died. And nothing happened. I'm just being dramatic. If you're going to do this, make sure you get those welds. That was holding it up. Don't undo all the bolts, because I undid the bolts down that side, down the back, up that corner, and then all the way down the side. So whenever I busted this loose, it's still welded in that back corner. This whole thing tried to drop out. So I had to get a jack, put it up right there, and it just turned into a maneuvering deal. So that's off there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this fender off, or not, excuse me, the wheel well out. Man, these things are in such good shape. I was thinking, I wonder if you could use those for slosh tubs. I mean, they're about right. And just cut the bottom off and make them cool, because they're in great shape. Like, this bed it's pretty dang nice for what, well, other than the big dent on that other side. Let me show you all that again. Right there. Right down the crease line. However, if you're coming over here and you're looking at that, so it shouldn't be too bad to get out, because all of this has to get cut out. This here, let me back up. All of this gets cut out for the tires. That tire, when everything is done, is going to be right up in here. So all of this has got to come out. This is all just spot welded in. So there is so much work to this. However, this is what makes it cool. So I'm gonna go ahead, and whenever I got the other one off and I go ahead and cut that out, I'm just gonna take a radius. We know that this is in the center of the tire, correct? I'm just gonna take a radius. We know we got 24-inch wheels. So I'll do like a 26. I'll, come down here, make me a jig, and find out where this is at in the center, like right over here, and just on a string, and buzz that out. And that dent is right behind here, so it shouldn't be too shabby. And I don't ever remember seeing this. It's got a big old dent right there. I didn't drop it, so I don't know, but that's got to come out. That's not gonna fly, so we'll figure that out. But as I said, if I could have got a step side bed, the late model step side bed, not an early model, not a square body step side bed. I've already had those, and I don't like the look of them when they're bagged. I'd have much rather have done that. I'm gonna have so many hours into this, but it is what it is, and it's a teaching or a learning curve for me, and a way to kind of showcase some skill, I guess. But anyhow, I just wanted to put that in there. Please make sure you cut your welds and leave some bolts in here, and it wouldn't hurt to have an extra person. Like, this got a little sketchy, and they're kind of heavy. They're not bad. It's like having 25-pound bag of dog food on the other and 60-pound on one arm and 60 pounds on the other, because the back is heavy, the front isn't. So once everything is cut down and everything, it's going to be cool. So that's that. I did stick a fender on the front truck. Let me show you all that. I kind of started off with that just to kind of see where we're at. Now, as I said, we're 3 inches. Our subframe is 3.5 inches off the concrete right down there. Don't have the drop spindles. I'm going to go ahead and order those. So I guess I'll do 2.5s, and it'll go ahead and tuck it up. I put that up there because these are going to need some trimming too. I wanted to see how close my trim was back there, but as you can see, I've already had to remark it. All of this has got to come out. I'm not sure if that's going to touch the fender once the core support's on, but it's touching the fender. All that gets cut out too. So you'll come right behind the hinge, right up here, cut all of this, and put another something in there that looks nice. But if those rear flares or wheel wells, I can't, for some reason, I forget the names of everything when I'm on this camera. If they would fit up in here, that would be so dope looking, like so much better. So I'm going to try to take care of them and get them out of there, because they're not rough by any means. They're actually in pretty good shape for a truck. Anyway, I'm just rambling. I'm gonna get on to the next one, guys. Just wanted to touch base on that. I think that's an important piece to know. Cut your welds, make sure you got everything done, and leave a few bolts in it and have an extra hand. So we're getting there.